This is a special place, and every day is a new beginning with lots of smiles and memories. Also, one of our residents was eaten by an alligator. So, there's that.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello, I'm Johnny Urnripper from Ghastly, and I do the vocals on albums and guitar and vocals on the live shows, or some of the vocals, I should say.
And how would you describe the music of Ghastly?
Well, we play death metal. It's Finnish death metal. I guess people usually think of it as sort of this weirder scene of death metal, and I guess that also applies to us. And we've been described as psychedelic death metal. I'm not sure if that's a good moniker or not, but we have these surreal lyrics and use a lot of melodies, harmonies. So that creates, I guess, an atmosphere that's a bit different from many other bands these days.
Now, do you agree with that characterization? Do you agree with that description, that Ghastly's music is psychedelic?
Well, I guess I do. Yeah. It's at least one characteristic of the band. We, of course, we have these aggressive parts and more, like I said, melodic parts, and that's a diverse kind of thing.
A lot of atmosphere in your music as well?
Yeah, we have Ian has a way of making music that creates a lot of atmosphere, and he likes to use this reverb in guitar sound and a lot of harmonies and kind of this cavernous echoing sounds, and that's an important part of the Ghastly sound.
So some weeks ago I spoke to two guys who wrote a book about Finnish death metal, and I asked them if they thought that there was a sound to Finnish death metal, if there was a kind of commonality to Finnish death metal bands. What do you think? Is there a Finnish death metal sound?
Well, I think there is a certain kind of sound. It's not very like, how would I say it? It's not a single sound, but it's, you can hear a certain characteristics. I guess there's the atmosphere is one thing. Like a lot of Finnish bands deal with this dark moods and dark sounds, and there's maybe an emphasis on the atmosphere versus aggression and speed and stuff like that. And there's also a lot of bands use melodies and weird melodies also, like Demigod and Amorphis and bands like those.
Now, for you guys, were you very influenced by the old Finnish death metal sound?
Well, I think it has certainly had an influence, and probably more than any other of the classic scenes around. But also we're influenced by some of the newer bands as well, and also stuff outside of death metal. Like, for example, Ian he's a big fan of like Italo horror, and for example, he's cited Goblin as one of his influences. So I guess the psychedelic part can also come from there.
So tell me a little bit about what brought the three of you together. How did Ghastly form?
Well, I haven't been there from the beginning, but Ian and Gassy Sam have been. Like, Sam is the other vocalist in the band, the original vocalist, I should say. They've been friends for ages, and they also played together in a doom metal band called Garden of Worm. So, like, Ian is the one who's made all the music for Ghastly. So he wanted to start this death metal project, and he recorded all the instruments, but he needed someone to do the vocals, so he asked Sam to join in. So that was the beginning of the band. And I think like that they recorded at least the first demo tape, but then they added a live drummer called Matthias to the band, and he's with us still. And then I joined a while later, a few years later.
Did you join before that first album?
No, I joined before Death Dweller. I can't actually remember which year it was anymore, but I'm not on the first full-length record, Carrion of Time. But I joined before the recording of Death Dweller, and so I did some vocal parts and some guitar parts there as well.
So what led to you joining?
Well, I came to know the guys from Garden of Worm. Like I play in Stench of Decay as well. So we actually did some shows together, and of course I went to see Garden of Worm a bunch of times, and so I met the guys and became friends with them, and so at some point, like Ian, he wanted a second guitarist, so he asked me to come along, and I said, all right, let's do it.
A second guitarist, not just for live shows, but for the studio as well?
Well, kind of. Well, it's mostly for the live shows, but and actually I didn't record any of the guitar parts on the newest album that's coming out next month, but maybe we've been talking that maybe the next record we would record as a band, but that's not decided yet. But so it was mostly for the live stuff. But then he wanted me to do some vocals as well.
Does Ian record most of the instruments?
Yeah.
The drums, the guitars, bass?
Yeah, pretty much everything, yes. So yeah, like I said, I only recorded a few guitar parts or a few songs, I guess, on Death Velour.
And as far as the vocals go, how do your vocals differ from Sam's?
Well, I guess I have a more like a traditional death metal growl, so that's used in some parts, and Sam has the more like kind of black metal type of sound. Well, maybe not typical black metal either, but like this higher pitched sort of raspy shouting. That's really cool.
So you do like the lower end vocals, and he does the higher end?
Yeah. And we used that more on the next album, the Mercurial Passages. So there's more of this vocal interplay there, and I think it's ended up really sounding really great.
So let's talk about Mercurial Passages. That'll be your third album, and it'll be coming out on May 28th through 20 Bucks Spin. Tell me about the writing process of this album.
Well, it's hard to me to go into specifics as Ian makes all of the music, but he wrote pretty much all of the songs in a surprisingly short amount of time. And I remember Parasites was the first song of the album, and that's now been under work for a few years at least. But Ian made the songs, and then he started recording them on his own, and then we added the lyrics later. There was a couple of songs that didn't make it on the album, but we're still debating what to do with them.
How many songs do you guys have left?
I think there were 3 songs from the sessions, but I think Ian's planning to use at least 2 of them in some other project or something. Like he ended up thinking that maybe they weren't right for Ghastly, but at least one of them might make it on some release in the future.
How would you compare Mercurial Passages to the previous Ghastly albums?
Well, I think there's been a progression through every release that we made, and like Death Velour was a big leap forward from Carrion of Time, and I think Mercurial Passages is also kind of a big leap from Death Velour. I think it has a clearer production, so you can make better sense of what's actually being played. And it's maybe has more melodies. I'm not sure, but it feels like that to me. So, and maybe it's also a bit faster than Death Velour, but it is a very atmospheric album, I feel, and the best album we've done so far, for sure. I know every band always says this from their latest album, but I think it's true.
So Ian handles all the songwriting?
Yeah, basically, but then we have a lyricist outside of the band, Antti Korpinen, who writes all the lyrics. And I think that's also an important part of the band. It's the lyrics are very, very good. They're not kind of, I think they're not the traditional death metal lyrics in a way. Like they have this surreal feeling, and you're not often sure what they're talking about, but they add to the general atmosphere of the band.
Can you say the name of your lyricist again?
Antti Korpinen.
Antti, is that right?
Antti, yes. So Finnish names are hard.
Sorry.
Pronunciation is so different. Huh?
Would you mind spelling that for me?
A-N-T-T-I.
Okay, Antti. Is my pronunciation close enough?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try my best. But how did Antti get involved with you guys? Why did you choose to use him as a lyricist?
That story I'm actually not at all sure about. I guess Ian just didn't feel comfortable about writing the lyrics, or maybe like he's also an old friend of Ian's, so there could be like anything.
Can you tell me a little bit about the lyrics that he wrote for this album?
Well, I think they're interesting. They're a lot to do with the human mind. I think that's one of the main things that's going on with the album. And like I said, it's sometimes hard to tell what they're about. So you need to actually kind of think about the lyrics to kind of figure them out. So this is just like for example, Parasites. There's a line about subconscious parasites. So that's, I guess, that tells you something that it's got something weird going on overall.
Just a lot of lyrics about the mind and the subconscious, and
yeah, like this weird, maybe like you get the feeling of like astral trips and like maybe some kind of psychic suffering and all that sort of stuff.
And do you guys like the lyrics to be open to interpretation, for listeners to come up with their own interpretation of what you guys sing about?
Yeah, I think that's always a good thing, and that's one thing that, you know, having an outside lyricist kind of forces you to do, because we don't even know what was meant with the lyrics when they were written, and I think that's something that's always the case with like written text, like lyrics and poetry and whatnot, that you can never actually know what the original intention was. So it's always like that. It's up to interpretation. Sorry, but yeah, it's sort of cool, like having someone else write your text and and then you're like, hey, what the hell is going on here? So you can sort of see what the listeners might also be thinking about with that while listening to them.
Ian recorded the album himself at his own studio, right?
Yeah, he recorded it at our rehearsal place with his own gear.
And you guys have always self-recorded, right?
Yeah, we've always done that. I think Ian might have had someone else doing the at least some of the recording or mixing. I'm not even sure anymore. But this time, like he basically recorded and mixed the album himself, and he has some help from some friends, but with the mixing part. But like basically, he did it almost entirely by himself. We just send it. Yeah, I think he has recorded all the stuff himself, even in the past.
So from the time that Ian started writing the songs to the time when he was finished recording the album, how long did it take for you guys to put this together?
I'm gonna have to think about that. It's been a few years at least, but like I think, yeah, with all that's been going on, it's like hard to like tell about how long it's been since whatever's happened, because like so little has been happening in the last year with the band because of the situation we're in, of course. But I think now the record's been basically ready for over a year at least, maybe a year and a half, but maybe without the mixing part. So it's of course it takes some time with these things. That first the recording, and Ian records all the instruments, and then we record the vocals. And since we are not using a studio, we are not pressed for time, and it takes some time to just get the recordings together, and after that the whole mixing process and then the cover work and all that. So I think at some point we were just like waiting for the cover to finish, and then for $20 spin to be ready to release the album. So it's been a while. I think after Death Velour was released, there was maybe a year before we started working on this album. So it's probably been like 3 years at least that we've been working on it in some manner.
What
So you mentioned 20 Buck Spin. Mercurial Passages will be your second album for 20 Buck Spin. How did you guys end up getting signed to them?
I guess they got interested. It's been a while now since Death Velour was already signed to them. That's been at least 5 years ago. So probably Ian approached them about if they're interested in releasing the album, and they wanted to make a 2-record deal with us. So that's what we did. I guess we were mostly wanted to be sure that we're gonna have a good quality release out. So that played a big part. We knew that 20 Buck Spin puts out good releases. So,
are there any bands on the label that you particularly like?
Well, Two Mold definitely is one of my favorites, and I know all the guys in the band love the band. So Two Mold is definitely one of the best current death metal bands for sure.
Your music reminds me of Vastum a little bit too.
Vastum, yeah, we do like that one as well. Yeah, it's a good band. I haven't thought that we'd actually sound like them, but I guess there's parts, at least, yeah, in our music that are quite similar. Yeah, the more straightforward stuff.
And also some of the psychedelic passages are the use of repetition to get that kind of trancey, droney feeling.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like I said, Ian's been in a doom metal band, so I guess that's also an influence, to how he writes music. There's these slower and repetitive parts as well, like what's used in Death Velour's last track, Skull Woman. I remember reading a review about that a while ago that someone said that this goes on way too long. I don't know if you feel the same, but we have some stuff like that on the next album as well.
So speaking of the next album, I mean, the situation right now for everyone is, it's extremely unpredictable. It's hard to say what's going to happen next for us. But I mean, do you guys have plans? Once the album is out, what do you guys hope to do?
Well, we're currently rehearsing at least once. We're trying to rehearse once a week. So we're trying to get into form to play some live shows. That's our main goal at the moment. And we haven't got any shows planned right now, but as soon as it's possible and we feel like we're in good enough shape, then we'll definitely start playing shows. And hopefully the new album will get us maybe some shows abroad as well. That would be awesome.
So in terms of playing shows, what's the situation like in Europe right now?
It's pretty bad. Finland has come down hard, especially on live music for some reason. We've been in a situation where bars are open, but you can't have more than 10 or 20 people attending any kind of performance. So that's obviously not been great. But I think it's probably gonna get better by the end of the summer at the latest. So hopefully before the end of the year, we might already be playing live. We also had a pretty long break from rehearsing just because we didn't wanna have any too much contacts with each other. But now we started again.
Now for the release of the album, are you guys planning on doing any kind of live stream or in-studio session or anything like that?
we actually did talk about that, but yeah, it wasn't seriously discussed as of yet, but maybe, I don't know.
So Mercurial Passages will be out on May 28th through 20 Buck Spin. You see, tell people how they can order the album. What's the best way to get it?
Well, 20 Buck Spin record store, I guess, is what I will endorse here. Yeah, we will only have some copies for the band that will be selling at our shows, and I'm not actually which shops will have it in Europe, but probably it will be in a bunch of distros.
So I should mention that 20 Buck Spin did a bunch of vinyl releases, but have you seen any of the colored vinyl that 20 Buck Spin put together?
We don't have them for ourselves yet, and I think the colored vinyls were already sold out, but I think they might be making some new editions already. So pretty sure that wasn't limited edition, so it will be up for order.
And if people want to follow Ghastly and keep up to date with what you guys are doing, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we have a Facebook page, Ghastly Death Metal. There's also some kind of electro band called Ghastly, but that's not us. And on Instagram also, Ghastly Death Metal. So you can follow us there.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I don't know. Keep death metal alive. Hopefully we'll see a lot of people in a lot of shows in the future, and hopefully shows will be happening. Yeah. And thanks a lot for the interview.